Okay guys, so we're on page 248 of our books and we're looking at question 3. So a box of colouring pencils is shown here. Draw A, an elevation of the box in the direction of arrow A. So what the box would look like if we were looking in at this edge. B, a plan projected from the elevation in the direction of arrow B. So that's going to be from our elevation, we're going to project down below that to draw our plan, so what we see from B. And then C, a completed surface development of a box. So we're going to use the plan and the elevation to help us draw a development of that colouring box. And then we can put in D here as well, we're going to try to draw this shape on shape as well. Okay, so we have A, B, C and D is to draw it on shape as well. So we're going to start with A, an elevation of the box in the direction of arrow A. So we see that the surface here is all we would see on that. Okay, so we'd only see this surface. So we can see that that is 96 mil wide and 10 mil tall. Okay, hidden detail, because this isn't given a dimension down here, we don't really see this as hidden detail at all. Okay, so it's actually hollowed out and this actually has zero measurement, this thickness of this box, so you actually wouldn't see any hidden detail. Now if they said that the paper of the box was 1 mil thick, you'd actually see 1 mil of hidden detail, but for this question you don't have to worry about hidden detail, so just in case anyone's wondering about that. So all you'd see is 96 wide and 10 tall. So I'm going to go over to my sheet here. Make sure that you have your sheet set up correctly, and I'm going to draw the elevation of that shape. So I'm going to come down about half the page. So I'm going to measure down 120 mil. And I'm just going to draw a construction line about this far across the page. Okay, so there's no need to go all the way across the page. From the edge of my border, I'm going to measure in 10 mil. And from that point 10 mil in, I'm going to measure across 96 mil. Okay, so that is going to be the width of my colouring pencil box. Okay, 96 mil wide. And we know that it's going to be 10 mil tall. So from there, I'm just going to measure up 10 mil. And up 10 mil from here as well. And join it across the top then as well. Okay, so that's what the elevation of that box is going to look like. So to show that that's the elevation, with a construction line, I'm just going to measure up 10 mil and 10 mil above that. So mark, 5 and 5, mark 5 and 5. And I'm just going to label that the elevation. Okay, so that's the elevation. Directly below that we're going to have the plan. So using that width of 96, I'm going to project that down below the XY line. And speaking of the XY line, now I know exactly how wide it has to be, so I'm just going to label that XY line. Okay, and just rub out the part of that XY line that I don't need. And I have that in place now, so that's the XY line. So 10 mil below the elevation, I'm going to start drawing the plan. So measuring down 10 mil from the elevation, and I'm going to draw a firm line 96 mil wide, and I'm using the lines that I projected down as reference there. So that's 96 mil wide. Okay, so as I'm looking at it from B, I see that the height is actually 40 mil. So if I'm looking at it from B, the height looks like it's 40 mil and the width looks like it's 96. So I need to measure down 40 mil from this line here. Okay, and the final thing I need to do is to draw the cutout here. So the cutout then is 16 over, 16 wide and 30 here. So it seems to be symmetrical shape because we have our broken line come down the center here, the red one. So it's going to be 15 to the left and 15 to the right. So to draw that onto the top, I'm going to measure in 16 mil and 16 mil. So measuring in 16 and 16. It's going to be a construction line here and a construction line here. And it's going to be 15 and 15 from the center line. So I know that that is 40 mil altogether here, and if it's going to be 30 altogether, I need to come down 5 and down up 5. Construction line, and this line here now is 30 mil. So I can draw that in with a firm line now. Okay, and I'm just going to measure down 5 and 5, and I'm just going to write plan underneath that. Okay, so just make sure that you're labeling your views, and it's very important to do that. Okay, next thing is to draw the development of this. So if you imagine your colouring box here, you're going to have this window at the front of it to show the colours of the pencils on the inside. But you're not going to have that on the back, okay? You're not going to have that window on the back. So we're actually going to have a solid shape on the back. We're going to have our two edges, and then we're going to have this one with the window on it as well. Okay, so you're going to see the window. Then finally on the ends you're going to see this face here and this face here as well. Okay, so going back to our drawing, I'm going to project the plan just across my sheet, like so. So I'm just taking that height there and I'm going to project it across like this. And I'm going to draw the plan again. So I'm just going to come over here looks about 30 mil. And I'm going to draw this firm line. From that firm line, I'm going to measure out 96 mil. Because that is the overall width of my shape, 96. Okay, so that's the start of my plan, and I'm also going to project over this height here and this height here as well. Okay, and just like the window again, I'm measuring in 16 and 16. Okay, so that's our plan drawn. Directly below the plan we're going to have another elevation, okay, to show the side of the box, and another elevation here to show the side of the box again. So those faces would be this face here, so that's an elevation, and we're going to have another elevation on the back as well, on this far side of it. Okay, so if we were looking in from this side. So to draw that, I'm just going to get the width of my shape here and drop that down, and get the width over here and drop that down as well, and also projecting that width up as well. Okay, because we're going to have an elevation and a plan above this as well, up here like this, and project another one up as well. Okay, so we know the height of this elevation is 10 mil, so I'm going to measure down 10 mil here and up 10 mil here as well. Okay, so we're going to have an elevation above and below. Above that now we're going to have a plan, but in this plan we're not going to see this window as we discussed earlier. So we're not going to actually see that window. So I'm going to draw now 40 mil up, 10, 20, 30, 40. Okay, and we have our elevation there as well. The last thing we need to do is to draw in the two ends, which would look like this section here and the same on the other side. Okay, so we can see that that is 10 mil here by 40. So I'm going to draw it in just here and here. So it's going to come out 10 mil and down 40 because it's a 10 by 40 rectangle. Okay, measuring out 10 and measuring out 10 here. Okay, so that's my development now of that colouring box. So the next thing I want to do is just pause that and go back over the fold line. Okay, so I have my fold lines now drawn in, and just to make sure that you have that labelled as well. Okay, so I have that labelled, the development. Okay, so that's the solution to that colouring pencils box drawing. Question 3 on page 258 of our books. So now we're going over to Onshape and we're going to try to model that on Onshape. Now the reason we're modeling this on Onshape, okay, it's a very easy shape to model, but it just gives an opportunity to introduce you to a new feature, and that feature is shell. Okay, and shell allows you to more or less hollow out a shape. So what we're going to do is we're going to start by sketching that shape. So I'm going to sketch onto the top plane. And I know that that is going to be a center rectangle from the origin, and I'm going to dimension that 96 mil by 40. Okay, because that's the dimension of our colouring pencil box. I'm now going to extrude that by 10 mil, because again, that's just a dimension that's given in the book. So I'm extruding that to 10 mil. Green tick. Okay, so that's the dimensions of our box. The next thing I want to do is use that shell. And to use this in a way that it hollows out the inside of the shape, I need to select hollow. Okay, if I don't, I have to pick a face. And once I pick a face, it'll actually hollow it like this. So that face then disappears and it hollows. So sometimes that's a good way to do it. I think we did it in the Lego block. But for this one, we need to choose hollow. And now it's going to ask, what part do you want to hollow? So I want to hollow this whole part here. And again, this hasn't been given a dimension of how hollow it is, but it's a piece of paper, cardboard, so I'm just going to call it 0.5 mil. So 0.5 mil is the thickness of that cardboard, let's say. So green tick. Now, it doesn't seem like that anything has happened there, but it has worked, don't worry. So what we need to do now is look down on the top, and we need to draw in this window that we were talking about. So we're going to sketch, and we're going to sketch onto this top surface, and we're going to sketch this time a corner rectangle. And you can draw that anywhere for the moment. And I know that that corner rectangle is 30 mil by 16. Okay, because again, that's just the dimensions that are given in the book. I also know that the dimension from this edge to this edge here is 5 mil. And I know that from here to here is 16 mil. Green tick once we're finished, and we've seen that that sketch went black, which means that it's fully defined. I'm going to extrude that now, this shape here, and I'm going to extrude remove. So I'm removing the surface from the shape, and all I'm going to remove is 0.5 mil, because the thickness of the paper is 0.5 mil, and green tick that. And once I've done that, we can see now that that shape has been hollowed out. Okay, we can actually see the inside of it there. So look at that corner in here that you can see. So that shape now has been hollowed out. And we can see here that if we look at the front, we have the elevation. So that's the elevation. If we look at the top, looking down from B, we have the plan. Okay, that's our plan, looking from the top. Our plan. And then in our development, we have one face, two faces, three faces, four faces, and then the two ends as well, which is a 40 by 10 rectangle. And on the other edge, we have the same rectangle again, a 40 by 10 rectangle here as well. Okay, so that's how to draw the development from page 258 on our books. Hopefully you found this helpful. Let me know if you have any questions.